So today I'm going to cover, it's kind of like an inquiry technique. It's called Me Too. It has nothing to do with the whole sexual harassment thing. This technique predates the whole sexual harassment use of the word Me Too. Anyway, or the phrase Me Too. And then we're going to get into something called essence noting thereafter. Essence noting is really cool. Y'all are going to enjoy this. Also, this Me Too practice is very powerful, very kind of easy to take on the road, really roadworthy. All right, great. So what is Me Too? So Me Too is a practice where you see anything negative, especially negative, but also you can do it on positive. Anything negative that you kind of like, it's like, aha, look at this. I find that triggering. Then remember, ah, yes, me too. Remember that you also have that in you. And now I want to be absolutely crystal clear. This is not some sort of weird self-shaming nonsense. You kind of see that in certain political orientations where they're interested in like guilting themselves, shaming themselves. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Shame is, I think, unhealthy, and I think there's certain forms of guilt that are very unhealthy. But this has nothing to do with that. It has to do with it's actually a compassion practice. And I'm introducing it purposely after Tonglen, because Tonglen is a compassion practice. And so when you see the thing in the other person you don't like, you say, aha, yes, aha, this is also in me. And then now this is central to the practice. You're sweet and kind and in a sense permissive with yourself and with that other person. Like everything that is in another person that you don't like is also in you. And that's absolutely no reason for low self-esteem or self-shame. Rather, it speaks to the reason why we should be kind and compassionate towards ourselves and others. I may have mentioned this little story to maybe one of you on an individual call, or maybe also even in this class, I forget. But one of the reasons, and this is just my theory, one of the reasons why people like to be around people who are awakened, who are enlightened, is that largely people that are awake have like looked at, opened up to, and released the shame around either most of their being or all of their being, in contradistinction to the rest of us. They've kind of done, there's a level of self-acceptance that is very deep and solid and worked through in these people. And if you've accepted what's inside, you can accept what's outside. And you can feel that with people. Like, I'm sure you've all been around somebody that you can just tell that they've let go of like shame, like, unhealthy shame. There are types of shame that are probably healthy, but they've let go of self-reproach. They've worked through their own kind of toxic shame. And they naturally accept you because the act of non-acceptance has been worked through. That conditioning has been worked through. And then let me also say that this is mildly tangential. So I'd like to talk about the heart practices and the wisdom practices. The heart practices are all about love. So there's joy, that's mudita. There's compassion, which is love when it sees suffering in others. There's loving kindness, which is this more kind of general open friendliness. It all hinges on receptivity, acceptance, attentiveness, like a sweet attending to, like even like a curiosity. And then on the other side of the equation, wisdom. And again, wisdom and heart practices always are the two wings of the bird of enlightenment. So wisdom practices are largely discussed in terms of like open, empty awareness. It's all about awareness. Well, awareness is all about attentiveness. It's all about curiously, openly being with what is. So you see that love and attention are actually the same thing. Love and awareness are the same thing. And so this practice of me too works on both levels. You're attending sweetly to what's arising, and you're seeing how it's in you and it's in the other person, and how we're all in this together on some level. Let's see here, there may have been something else I wanted to say about that. And just to absolutely reiterate, if you are seeing something negative in someone and saying, oh, that's negative in me, and oh, to hell with me, fuck me, blah, 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 wrong, 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 wrong. It is all about accepting what's on both ends. Also, now, here's another instruction that's very important. This is not about denying your triggering. If you see something in some, like there are things that I'm happy to admit trigger the hell out of me. I get extremely triggered about some things. And it's not a problem. We're not trying to deny that we're triggered or like, oh, I should be beyond this. Well, me too. I have the same shitty quality. I shouldn't be upset about this. No, not at all. Like part of this Me Too thing is, oh, look, I'm terribly triggered right now. And I can open up to this best that I can. And also, if you can't open up to something, then you accept, oh, look at me, here I am. This triggers me so badly, I can't even open up to it. Fine. And you start accepting things there. Like something I like to say is the practice, there's only one place that you do the practice, it's here and now. So you're always practicing on what is most proximate. You're not practicing what's 2 steps down the line, right? You're always practicing what is right here. So for example, if you see hatred in another person and you say, oh yes, me too, I have hatred in me. But what if you can't accept your own hatred? Well, don't work on accepting your own hatred. Accept that you can't accept your own hatred. That's enough. Because you can't skip ahead. You got to do what's right in front of you. And this should always be done in a kind of sweet, allowing, and inviting way. Because this is the other thing. You can't force it. Like, here, I'll say to all of you right now, accept the thing that you can't accept. But no, you can't do it. You can't accept it. It's impossible. But so what we do is we like, oh, look, I can't even accept it. And I'm just going to let this be and not quit monkeying with myself. Right? So it's all about this kind of like tolerance and being with what is. Okay, that's the Me Too practice. So what I would recommend is, and I'll reiterate the homework, do 6 micro hits of that every day. Just say, oh yeah, this thing, I see that, that's also in me. And then you accept that, you open up to that. Any questions about that part of the class? Okay, assuming not. Very good. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach essence noting, which is it's a very, very simple technique. It was developed by Kenneth Folk. And also, I just recently watched a video of Vince Horn with Buddhist Geeks discuss it. So I'm getting much of the information from him. And I'll send out that video here during class. So, okay, essence noting. Well, so firstly, I think we remember, do we all remember the see, hear, feel noting? Right? Yep. Okay, great. So this is also noting. So we use labels, right? But we're going to kind of incline the mind towards basically openness, peace, non-resistance. So it's a little bit of kind of like in a sense, see, hear, feel is kind of neutral in terms of its valence, right? See, hear, feel, just note everything as it is, whatever, as it comes up. But essence noting is a different form of noting that focuses on kind of openness, broadness, awareness, peace, allowing, surrender, etc. And also, I'll say that this is, the noting system itself is more based on Mahasi style noting, not Shinzen style noting. Shinzen generally hinges on see, hear, feel, in and out, blah, blah, blah. But this is Mahasi style noting. And so the way you do Mahasi style noting is simply you use the sentence stem there is, and then you insert either an gerund verb or a noun, like there is heat. So you just note heat, sweating, difficulty, resistance. So let me just give, and I'm not really going to teach you like per se normal Mahasi style noting, but I'm just going to teach it kind of to you very briefly, and then we're going to build on that and then make the modifications and turn it into essence notes. So I'm just going to do regular Mahasi style noting right now out loud, and it's very, very simple. Seeing, breathing, shortness of breath, difficulty, disliking, breath, release, looking, seeing, feeling, tensing, allowing, present, seeing, dryness, unpleasantness. Okay, so it's just simply filling in the end of the sentence of the verb of the sentence stem. There is. For me right now, there is blank. Okay. So again, but this is essence noting. So this is taking that technique, but focusing on basically the qualities that are brought to the fore in Maha Mudra. Maha Mudra is a form of Vajrayana meditation. It's highly lauded. It is viewed as a very subtle and laudable form of meditation. And in that meditation style, you always just focus on opening up awareness, acceptance, ease, bliss, allowing, etc. So, okay, great. So now I'm going to list what the instructions are. So the core of the practice is simply based on hearing and listening. So the kind of default object is listening, hearing. You kind of come back to that. The second piece of instruction is to simply open up to what is pleasant, especially anything that seems to be boundless and open. So opening up to curiosity, boundlessness, joy, ease, love, bliss, release. And the third instruction is if there is a contraction or something negative, we note either releasing or allowing. So you don't note the pain or the unpleasantness with that note. You just note opening, allowing, etc. Hey, Zilka, good to see you. Okay, great. So that's it. But now I'm going to go back, kind of reverse, and reiterate everything so it's really clear. So, all right. Firstly, let's just sit up straight, and we're going to focus on hearing, on listening. And I promise you that you'll all understand this before this is over. And I don't think that you need to have understood quite yet. So, okay, just listen. Just opening up to the auditory experience. And now listen for the ships in the harbor blowing their foghorns. So to be clear, we're listening for a sound that is not there. And to facilitate this listening, open up awareness. Go broader, more open. Go subtler. And lean in, but lean in very sweetly into the experience. Try to listen. Try to hear, for example, the leaves of the trees in a distant forest rustling up against each other. It's very, very far away. So you really have to open up your mind and pay very close attention. So there's an effort, but it's a very sweet and easy effort. And so you're just listening. And listening is going to, again, be your kind of home base. And then if you notice anything else that's positive, pleasant, open, easy, boundless, spacious, then you simply just note it in just normal language. So like openness, ease, bliss. And then back to listening, listening, listening. Boundlessness, dispersion, expansion. And then, if there's any kind of negative experience, a contraction, anything egoic, pain, suffering, then what we do is we just say either accepting, allowing, or release. And also release, allowing, accepting, or even surrender. Those are all positive. But they're kind of a positive transmuting of the negative. Actually, I think that there's an interesting analogy. Like when a baby cries, the right response of the mother is not to deny it or to smile ear to ear, like, oh, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. But also the mother wouldn't cry herself. She's not going to cry or get upset per se. What she's going to do is she's going to know the state, the negative state of the baby. She knows it. She understands that the baby's in distress. And then there's this kind of sweet, what's called marked mirroring. It's like, oh, I'm sorry that you feel this way. Oh, okay. And that is compassion. So there's this attuning, knowing, understanding of your own negative and problematic experience. You attune to it and you soothe it and you have compassion for it. So in the allowing, releasing, surrender, you're giving compassion to yourself. So just to make it a little bit clearer, I'm going to do the noting out loud for about 1 minute. So you can just listen to me to get a better sense for it. Listen. Openness. Happiness. Ease. Allowing. Release. Allowing. Allowing. Openness. Listening. Ease. openness, openness, ease, allowing, enjoyment, ease, listening. Okay. How's it going? And are there any questions? Oh, hey, good to see you, Lisette. Okay, any questions? How's that going? Is everybody clear on the instructions? Yep, go ahead, Kurt.
I'm not sure what I'm listening to. Am I listening to my feelings, impressions, thoughts, and then processing them through this?
That would be okay. That would be fine. Yeah. In a sense, so firstly, I'd say one way to answer your question is you're listening to something that's not there. You're listening for something that does not exist. And so it's like a trick of the mind. So the way I explained this the other day is like, if you take a ball and you throw it, they say that if you hallucinate that you're still in control of the ball, even when it's a foot away from your hand, that your accuracy is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard that instruction by chance?
That my what is better?
Okay, if you throw a ball and you still are trying to control the ball, even when it's a foot away from your hand, that the actual ability to, the accuracy is actually better. Have you ever heard that instruction?
Yes.
Right. And to be clear, it's complete, on some level, it's complete bullshit. It's crazy. What the hell are they talking about? But it works, and that's what matters. Mm-hmm. So if you hallucinate this control, the performance is better. So this instruction makes absolutely not one shred of sense on some level. You're listening for something that's not there. So in a certain way, it's crazy. But the act of doing that does something with the mind that really works. And the mind goes open and boundless.
So I'm going to relate it to the sound of one hand clapping or a tree falling in a forest. I'm not
yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing?
A little bit. It's actually related. So what you're talking about is koans, koans from Zen Buddhism. And so what a koan does is, it's like, show me your face before your parents were born. Or like, what's that sound of one hand clapping? And so it's like this question, and it brings you to attention, but then you can't find the answer. And so this works exactly the same way. It's bringing you to attention and have you go after something that you can't find, which is exactly right, because it's all about the kind of opening up and trying to find it and not the finding it. But then also I want to go ahead and, in a sense, use your question to further illustrate this. So you're saying, am I listening to my feelings? Actually, yes. So in a sense, like I was saying earlier, the wisdom end of things and the heart love end of things are all about opening up and receptivity. So it would be entirely consistent with every aspect of this technique to kind of listen to your feelings. You're opening up to what's arising in your felt sense.
So then just to follow up on that, so I'm setting myself up for an imaginary experience at the beginning of the meditation and then seeing how I respond to that?
That's not the way I would put it. But in a certain way, everything's imaginary. Everything's fabricated. We don't know what is real or what is not real. We just have these experiences.
Right.
But I wouldn't really say you're setting yourself up for an imaginary experience. You're simply doing something with the mind, inclining the mind in a certain way that just simply works to actually bring about a state of meditation.
Well, you proposed the sound of a ship in a harbor that I'm not near. Is that what I would be setting myself up for, but
That will
creating my
work.
own, that, okay.
Well, see, to be clear, so if you listen for the sound of the ship in the harbor, that will work. If you listen for the sound of like the sun in the sky, that will work. If you listen for your heartbeat in your hand, that will work. What matters is that you're inclining the mind and going kind of after something in a sense. And it's even better if you can't find it.
Great. So I would be triggering the process. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Exactly. It's like you're cueing the mind.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So I have a quick question. So when I'm trying to bring about the listening, I get a lot of visual as well. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's kind of like setting the scene for everything.
Yeah, well, this meditation is all about openness and receptivity. So if image thoughts are coming, great, no problem. We take that in. Like I like to say, in this open, boundless awareness, there's space for everything. You know, if hatred comes up, that's fine. We open up to that. We might not want to indulge it, but we open up to that.
Okay.
Any other questions coming up today?
So I understand well the focusing on something like the sound of the leaves or whatever, and focusing on that, yeah. But I did not understand exactly how the notation comes. You know, like what you said, the labels. Can you explain that again?
Sure. Thank you, Julian. Okay, so let me kind of give a primer on noting and labeling. So labeling is extremely useful because it chews up the processing capacity of the mind, the verbal processing capacity of the mind. Also, it gives you a feedback loop so you know that you're paying attention. Like if you're saying a label or a note, you're meditating. And you don't have to doubt whether or not you're meditating. So that's something I would say. Am I speaking to your question? I think there's something else there, right?
Yes, you're kind of answering to it, but not totally. But please continue if you have something else to say.
No, I'm running out of things to help me with your question because I want to make sure I speak.
So I don't know what I'm supposed to label here. So let's say that I'm focusing on the trees that is 1 kilometer away from me, and so my first reaction will be to imagine the sound, actually, sound of it.
Okay.
And it will, and maybe some images, like John said. But then, wow, why am I noting? Am I noting? Because I will see the tree, I will see the leaves, and I note what? Okay, I'm aware of the tree, so awareness.
Yeah, awareness.
And I don't know what will come after, but I have to try it. I guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right. A couple of things. Let's see here. So, in a sense, remember there are 3 categories, 3 things to focus on here: listening and hearing, and especially hearing the thing that's not there. That's kind of instruction number 1. Instruction number 2 is open up and appreciate and note or label anything that's positive, enjoyable. So like spaciousness, boundlessness, bliss, enjoyment. And then anything that's negative, note as allowing, releasing, surrender, etc. So in a sense, this is about kind of tuning. It's basically, and again, this is based on Maha Mudra meditation. So it's all about opening up to the bliss of existence, and open, spacious, empty awareness. And also, it's about allowing entirely for our negative mind states to come up, and then to, in a sense, metabolize them by simply opening up and knowing that they arise out of awareness, are made of awareness, and recede back into awareness. Is that helping, Julian?
Yeah, it's clearer. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you for your question. Any other questions? Okay. So let's do, yeah, Zilka, you have a question? Yeah, unmute yourself.
Okay, now I got it,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Last thing you said about the negative coming up,
Yeah.
I didn't get, first you said allowing entirely what is coming up.
Yep.
And then what do you do with it then?
In a sense, that's it. You allow it.
You just get aware of it.
Yeah, be aware of it. And okay, so then the typical notes here are surrender. So you surrender to it. Oh, look, hatred. Okay, okay. Surrender, I surrender to that. Or, allowing, releasing. So you allow it or you release it. It's like, you know what, I can let this go.
Okay.
And in a sense, this practice is all about gentleness. It's all about simply opening up with a gentleness and a receptivity. And again, I like to explain, so again, the path can be thought of as heart practices and wisdom practices. Wisdom is all about receptivity, opening up to what is, and love, heart practices are all about opening up and accepting what is, receptivity. So this practice is like a fusion of the two because it's all about receptivity. And like listening, like for example, the act of listening is all about receptivity. And so that's how the listening part reinforces receptivity. Then the noticing the good states, well, great, where you're open to the good states, like bliss, openness, enjoyment. So, and like the acceptance of the states is more intuitive. So you just open up. And then the negative states where opening up to it is not default. It is not intuitive, right? It's like, oh, hatred, irritation, hating myself, hating my fucking job, whatever. Well, then you just, and then again, it's not like, accept this, goddammit. No, it's like, oh, okay, here we are. And if you hate it, and you hate that you hate it, you accept that you hate it. No problem, right? Like you always start where you are, and you always start with acceptance. So this is all about receptivity.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay, cool. So then, any other questions before we start? Hey, Lisette, you got it? I know you came on a little bit late, but everything good with you?
Yes, everything okay.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you could make it today. All right. Okay, so
Cedric, I have just one small question.
Sure.
Tell me what the name of this process is again. I may be confusing words here.
No problem. The name of this meditation is called essence noting. So noting is kind of like it's like the more technical end of what we're doing is Vipassana noting. I'll write that in, and that's basically the same as the see here feel. Vipassana noting, and then this kind of technical framework of naming and labeling is used in a way to kind of achieve something similar to Maha Mudra. Maha Mudra. Maha Mudra means great seal. And then let me just go ahead, and while we're at it, let me send, give me 1 minute, and then I'll send out, 1 second. I'll send out the 2 YouTube videos by other teachers that I based this lecture on. Wait a second. Let's see here. Great. Here we go. Here's the other one. Okay. So if you want what I'm teaching reinforced, watch these 2 videos. One's like 9 minutes, one's 15 minutes. Nothing to it. Okay, cool. So anything else before we get going with guided practice?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
Chris.
was just, hi, how are you doing?
Good.
When you're thinking something negative does come forward, do you have any suggestions on how to keep yourself from ruminating on that and in essence ruining the meditation?
Sure. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm understanding your question. So if in the meditation something negative comes up, what do we do in order to not ruminate on the negative experience that's coming up? Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Great. Okay. Well, geez, there's kind of two different levels of this. On some level, what we're doing is in meditation, all of meditation on some level is surrender. And all of it is a kind of in the moment acceptance that we're not in control. So that's answer number 1 is notice how holy shit, I'm not in control. And maybe this sucks. And then also I would open up to noticing how it's unsatisfactory that you're not in control, but then also notice how kind of accepting that you're not in control is in a sense the only possible thing you could do. Because in a sense, we're not in control of our mind. And so if we just notice that we're not in control of the mind, then maybe we can avoid the second arrow of being upset that we can't control the mind, as well as not being in control of the mind. So what I mean to say, and to really be thorough about this, there is like an essential suffering to the fact that we're not in control. Like when I meditate, I have mind wandering and it sucks. I don't like it. But also through the years of meditation, I have learned to resist the fact that I'm not in control less. And I think that that happens through simply volume of practice. So here we're taking the odometer approach of just like marking a lot of meditation, and then after a while you just quit resisting. And then, so that's the more kind of broad level, insight level. But then there's another more practical level is simply note acceptance, allowing, surrender. And if you can note it, you're already out of it. Am I speaking to your question, Chris? And it's a very good question.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Thank you.
Good. And in a sense, what I want to do is I want to validate your experience. Yes, you're going to have negative experiences. The rumination will keep going. And when we see how we're not in control, in a sense, the only sane response is compassion. It's like, oh, God, look at this. I'm sitting here thinking about my problems with my girlfriend. I'm not even meditating. Oh, I'm not even in control. Ugh. Okay, well, and others are also like this. And then I'm going to add one more additional kind of quasi technique, and this is extremely powerful and skillful. When you notice yourself suffering, like the suffering that arises when you see how not in control of your mind you are, do this reflection. Oh, all beings experience this. I'm in this together with all beings. May all beings be relieved of this suffering. And to be clear, you are one of all beings. But that opening up and seeing how everybody's in it together is skillful, wise, etc. But also what it does is it undermines selfishness and all afflictive emotional states are built on and sustained by selfishness and a kind of sense of self-isolation, like, oh, I'm the only weirdo that can't meditate. I'm the only weirdo that has rumination. No, all beings experience this. All beings struggle with their mind. Okay, good. I think that